that she could reset our relationship with Russia, and Vladimir Putin is on the march. So I think all of those things I just named go fundamentally to what is her track record.
Yes, that's her track record, all right. Mark's in San Francisco calling from KSFO. Mark, go ahead. You're on the air on this, The Savage Nation.
Yeah, if we could fly over to Syria, we would see Assad protecting the Christians, Brian. He's a nice Muslim. He did not use chemical weapons on his own people, okay? There's some Muslims that are nice, and he's one of them. And he's been framed. He didn't hurt them.
Mark, I will tell you, in defense of what you're saying and what Carly Fiorina just said a moment ago, you can say this about Assad. I don't know that he's a nice guy. I believe he's a strong-handed man. Some would say a despot. Some might even say a dictator. But like we have seen throughout history in that part of the world, you need very strong hands to control the crazy Muslims. That's what's been necessary throughout time to keep the crazy Muslims in check. You need a strong hand. And I think that's what Assad has been able to do. And if you get rid of Assad, guess what? You get ISIS. So thanks for your call on this, The Savage Nation. Fred, WMAL, please quickly go right ahead. You're on The Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in.
Oh, yeah. How's it going, man?
Great.
Look, I just wanted to say that I hear so much negativity about our president. And,
yes.
And it really bothers me. I mean,
yes.
This is the president of the United States.
Right.
He won 2 elections. And
yes.
These guys haven't learned yet. You talk crap about him, he wins. So,
you know what? Here's the deal. You know why we talk crap about him? Because he's a crappy president. We have a crappy president in the White House. We have a man occupying the White House who wants to fundamentally transform the United States of America. Fred, I don't know if you're married or not, but could you imagine if you went to your wife and say, I love you, honey, but I want to fundamentally transform you? That's what this man's doing to America, and it's not of the American spirit. So thanks for calling on this, The Savage Nation. You know, I can't help it if there are so many idiots in this country that voted for this guy twice. But nonetheless, we move on to kinder topics. MichaelSavage.com. Countdown to Mecca, Michael's book in the stores. Brian Sussman filling in on this, The Savage Nation. Brian Sussman here in for Michael Savage on this, The Savage Nation. For those of us who were listening to the broadcast yesterday, and I was just talking to the producer of this program, the producers. I've been listening to Savage since he was a local host in San Francisco. It's been probably 20 years. And all of us, and I wasn't in the radio biz then, I was in television then, but all of us in the media world in San Francisco, the first time you heard Michael, it was, okay, this guy's different. And it starts obviously with his voice, which is, it's there's something so unique about it, especially if you're in San Francisco and you're not around someone with the New York accent. But it was beyond that. It was his use of the language and very, very colorful descriptions of what was going on. But he was saying things that no one had ever said before. And early on, he got onto the borders, language, culture theme. And everyone in San Francisco media realized this guy is definitely going somewhere quickly. And, now you know the rest of the story. But Savage was struggling yesterday on the air, and we conversed after the program, and I was available for today. So he's resting comfortably today as he needs to be, because this crud that's going around, as many of you know, is some pretty serious stuff. Some of the headlines in the news, you can just go to michaelsavage.com, and you'll see some of the headlines. But one of the headlines, the war on the cops, 3rd white police officer shot dead this week. I asked the question early in the broadcast, who'd want to be a cop these days? I mean, I look at how the Department of Justice is going in and meddling in local police affairs. It's as if they want a nationalized police force. Cops are going to be more restricted in how they do business. Drew is calling from WMAL in D.C. Drew, you're on The Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in. Go right ahead, please.
Hey, how you doing? Okay, well, here's my point when it comes to police and those that want to flex their muscle and walk up to somebody that might be breaking a law. A police officer needs to have, okay, there's a guy drinking a beer. All right, why does he have to go over and flex his muscle and tell the guy, put the beer away, it's against the law?
Because it's against the law. What are you supposed to do? Just let lawlessness go unchecked?
No, but see, there's the other problem. It's lawlessness. Okay, if somebody's an aggressor, if somebody's going after somebody, trying to, giving kids underage beer or doing something against somebody else, whether it be stealing or harming, assault, battery, or killing or whatever, that's where the police officer is justified in doing something immediately. But if somebody is over trying to drink a beer on the side, not doing anything to anyone else, then just turn a blind.
Are you saying he's just supposed to turn a blind eye to this? The shopkeepers would be upset with this. If I owned a business on that particular street and the cop just walked right by somebody drinking in front of my establishment, and I'm selling clothing or I'm selling candy or whatever, I'd be upset with the police officer. Don't you see there's a man here breaking the law? Talk to him and tell him to get rid of the beer and move along.
Right, and that's for the shopkeeper, the shop owner to come out and make...
No, that's why we have police. You don't understand. So, Drew, in this particular case, we had a situation where the cop goes up to a guy, talks to him about the open container. The guy is the one who resists arrest. I don't know that the cop was actually going to arrest him. It may have been just a reflection. It could have been something that could have been carried out with a simple, handing of a ticket. I'm not sure how that went over there, but the guy resisted arrest and tried to flee. That's when he was apprehended by the cop. The cuffs were put on, and then he had the crap beat out of him. The cop did, by the crowd that surrounded him.
Why did the cop...
So you're saying it's the cop's fault?
Why did the cop need to chase and pursue him? He left the scene, let him go, because you don't have to...
Well, Drew, what you're saying is the way that I'm sure the Obama administration is now counseling the police on how to behave in the future. Thanks for your call. Here's the deal. You go through the whole list. The I can't breathe guy in New York City, and listening to that audio tape was horrible. It was horrible. The hands up, don't shoot, which we now know never happened. The situation in Baltimore was somehow the guy's spine is broken. I don't know what happened there. But I can tell you one thing in each of those three cases. Now, whether the police behaved improperly or not, that's one story. But let's talk about how we got there. In each one of those situations, the person who ended up dying resisted arrest. That's how it started. Even the big guy on the sidewalk selling cigarettes in New York City. He was resisting arrest. You could see the police tape. Your advice, don't resist arrest. It's real simple. If you ever get pulled over by the police for a speeding violation, a traffic violation, here's what you do. You put your hands on top of the steering wheel and open them up and keep them there. That's what you do. Okay? It's going to go a lot easier with that police officer when he knows you are not a threat, period, and you are going to be cooperating. That's it. That's all you need to know there. Other stories in the news. This is one that troubles me so much. Some of the great historical artifacts of all time. I'm looking what ISIS is now planning on doing in Palmyra in Syria. They want to level it. The amount of work that has been done in recent decades to restore these ruins. And there is historical evidence that King Solomon from the Bible, okay, actually was involved in the fortification of that once great city. These are treasures, artifacts, world history, beautiful stuff. ISIS wants to go in there and just level them all. So Bill's calling out of Reno, KKOH. Bill, thanks for checking into the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in this evening, depending on where you are. Talk to us about this, Bill.
Yeah, listen, I'm an Iraqi vet, and it makes me sick to my stomach now to know that they want to not only, drop Palmyra, but they're selling artifacts right now. It's not later. They're doing it now, and wealthy Americans and Europeans are buying them. And then I have other people telling me Muslims are okay. But let me tell you, they may be okay, but I know 97% of the children murderers and people that are hacking the human race to death over there, 97% are Muslim. I'm just sick of it. We need to surround the mosques. We need to register everyone. And I don't care what the government says. Unfortunately, until this president is gone, that's not going to happen. But I pray to God our next president lets us start registering Muslims in this country. It needs to be done. And that's my opinion. Thank you for letting me be on.
Well, you're entitled to your opinion, Bill. And as a guy who fought over there, obviously you have some strong feelings. I'm not so sure about the registering of Muslims, but I can tell you this: we need to stop immigration from these Muslim countries right now. I think we've got enough. All the refugees coming over from these various countries, we have plenty. Thank you very much. We're not allowing Christian refugees to come to this country, and there are, some could argue, millions of them. I didn't know that Americans were buying these priceless artifacts, but on the one hand, I can understand why they might, because these are priceless artifacts. And one would hope that the artifacts could remain long after ISIS is but a distant memory. All righty. We had a moment ago, we were talking with Drew from the D.C. area, and he was saying, it's the cops. The cops are always the aggressors here. Why would they have to bother a guy who's just drinking an open container on the sidewalk, even though there's a law against it? So Mike is calling from WFTL. Mike, thanks for joining us on this, The Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in. Go ahead, please.
I'm a retired police officer. What I want to know is who decides which laws the police enforce and which they don't. Today they don't enforce the drinking law. Tomorrow they don't enforce the robbery law. The next day they don't enforce the murder law. You either enforce all the laws or you don't enforce any of them.
I'm in agreement with you. I just can't imagine that you would just turn a blind eye to certain infractions just because they might seem minor. And again, you're retired law enforcement. You know this better than anybody.
They have what's called police discretion. What the officer probably did is tell the fella, hey, you can't drink that beer. Pour it out and, we'll let everything go.
Probably, I'll bet that was I don't know all the details here, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the first course of action, Mike.
He gave him a choice. That way you're not violating the law. I'm not letting a crime occur. He turned it down, I'm sure, and they got into the scuffle and he took off and all that. You can't enforce some laws and not enforce others. Who decides? Does the city council decide? Does the mayor decide? This law, we're not going to enforce this when we are? It sets a terrible precedence for this country. Well, we're not going to enforce these laws, and then we'll add this law tomorrow, and we're not going to enforce that law the next day. You can't do it. It's either all the laws or nothing. If you don't like the laws, have the government change them.
I like it. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for checking in. Did you hear about the... This is the man from Kenya. We'll get back to your calls in just a moment. Phone number on the Savage Nation. Brian Sussman filling in, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Don't forget michaelsavage.com. Man from Kenya. So Barack Hussein Obama is going to his homeland of Kenya. That's too easy. Come on now. That's just too easy. He's going to Kenya for a visit in July. So there's a lawyer there. He became he fell in love with Malia Obama in 2008. That's 6 years ago when she was 10. Now, the name is Felix Kiprano. Felix Kiprano. He's a lawyer in Kenya from Nairobi. Since then, he's dreamed of marrying Malia. Malia is the 16-year-old, the oldest of Obama's daughters. He said, quote, I got interested in her in 2008. As a matter of fact, I haven't dated anyone since, and I promised to be faithful to her. He's drafting a letter to Obama, quote, asking him to please have Malia accompany him for the trip. He says he would like to marry her, and in order to marry her, he wants to buy her. He wants to buy her for 70 sheep, 50 cows, and 30 goats. If Barack Hussein Obama will go for this, he promises they will lead a simple life. He said, I will teach Malia how to milk a cow, cook ugali, and prepare mursik, which is a traditional sour milk. So this guy's been in love with her since she was 10. Is this the common tradition in Kenya? Is this guy a Muslim? Because I know that, the Orthodox traditional Muslims allow for the marrying of girls at a young age in the spirit of Muhammad. What's the deal here? I want to know. 70 sheep, 50 cows, and 30 goats. I've been looking at all of the callers. I love this on the Savage Nation. Let me see here. Let's go back to this. This tags along with the comments we made at the very open of the show. And we'll play more of this for you. Carly Fiorina running for president. Carly Fiorina. And caller Sandhole. We'll get to you eventually. Carly Fiorina running for president. Carly Fiorina